Well, Mr. Ball, thanks for coming in this morning. Thanks again for expressing interest to serve on the Board of Education. Today's interviews are being recorded and will be posted after all the candidates have completed their interview. All candidates were emailed the questions yesterday at 5 p.m. and each candidate responded confirming receipt. Each board member will ask you a question and you'll have 40 minutes to answer all 7 questions and provide a closing statement. And questions will begin on the end with Ms. Thomas and we'll work our way off the dais here, concluding with Ms. Butler-Washington. Please let us know when you're done answering a question and then we'll move on to the next question. You can return to a question at the end if there's time remaining. The board will take notes and remain silent during the interview, so don't take it personally. We're just trying to keep the entire process as fair and equitable as possible. I will give you a 5-minute warning on your 40-minute time. After the interviews today, the board will confer, and when the board reaches a decision, all candidates will be notified. So for the record, can you please state your name and address?
Sure. My name is Zachary James Ball. I live at 16360 Valley Creek Court, Hughesville, Maryland, 20637.
All right. Thank you so much. Thank you again, and your time will begin after Ms. Thomas reads the first question.
Good morning. What is your understanding of the time commitment required for this position?
Sure. I know that there's a meeting second Tuesday of each month. It starts at 12, goes to 7 o'clock. Then you have a working meeting the fourth Monday of every month that usually starts around 4:30. And that's the time commitment on paper, right? But I think we all realistically know that there's hours that people don't see or aren't accounted for in terms of what the official requirements are. So I know that there's going to be days and afternoons when we start. I don't know what to do with this. Anyway, I know there's going to be afternoons and things of that nature when we're getting emails about some emerging incident from a school that people are going to want us to weigh in on or look into. And, it's a public service position, it's a position of public trust. So, I consider that to be, other duties as assigned, right? People are going to want us to get things done regardless of what our typical schedule is. But if I can real fast, I'm done with that question, but thank you for having me. It's an honor to be here to talk with all of you, and I really appreciate your all's consideration for this. I know it's not been easy to have somebody be on the board for such a short amount of time and then have to scramble to figure out what we're going to do about it to make sure the people of our community are represented. So I appreciate all your efforts.
Good morning. Why are you running for a seat on the Charles County Board of Education? Is there a particular issue or issues that has motivated you to serve in this capacity?
Yeah, so, at a high level, I want to pour into the community that poured into me. I moved here when I was 13. I went to middle school over at Vincent, grew up on the west side of the county, went to Lackey High School. And when I was in 12th grade, my parents actually moved to West Virginia. And I had to start working. I got an apartment and I was working through high school. And I continued to do that until probably 5 or 6 months after I graduated, when I finally got a job as a contractor with the Marine Corps, working for the Chemical Biological Incident Response Force that's located over in Indian Head. And, I was a wrench turner for a long time. I wasn't making a great deal of money at any of those points. And a lot of the jobs I got were because of people who knew me and wanted to help me out. And I got a lot of help from a lot of great teachers. Dr. Freeman, who still teaches over at Lackey, he gave me a job working, teaching the drum line, teaching other students how to play their instruments. Mr. Capper, he retired, Stanley Capper, he retired recently. He helped me a lot along the way, just kind of guidance and advice on how to navigate all of that. And, after 10 years of working for the Marine Corps, and to be clear, as a contractor, I decided I wanted to go back to school. And when I made that decision, it was going to cause a lot of financial burden for my family.
Can you move the mic a little closer?
Sure. And resolved a huge time commitment. And it was going to hurt our bottom line. And figuring out how to make those ends meet, I relied on a lot of family and friends. And I think it's important that when you can, that you do give back to the people. And I think the best way I can pay those people back, because I don't think financially I'll ever be able to, is to make sure that the people around them and the community that we exist in is the best that it can be. I think being on this board is one small way that I can help to do that. And the main issue about why I'm here today and now, and why whether or not I get appointed to this board or anything to see me, the main issue that I'm concerned with is my children in particular. I've got two boys that are 7 and 9 years old. They both go to T.C. Martin Elementary. Go Tigers! And I want to see this system work so that I want this system to be successful, so they're successful.
Good morning. What are your top 3 priorities for the school system, and how do you plan to advocate for those priorities if selected?
Sure. I want to bridge the gaps in relationships between all the stakeholders within our system. Whenever I know a lot of teachers, I know a lot of parents. I know I'm out in the community through the various volunteer work that I'm sure you all have seen on a resume. And when I talk to different people, depending on where they sit within our system, they all have different concerns, and they all kind of feel like outsiders looking in. And I think a lot of that is just communication. And so the way that I intend to try to bridge that gap and be that liaison is just being reachable, being honest and transparent. The people who we serve on this board deserve an explanation for why things are the way they are, and I want to try to give that to them when I can. My second priority would be providing unique learning opportunities for students. The Maryland Blueprint, I think, does a lot to provide that opportunity, especially through the career and college readiness. There's a lot of different things and unique opportunities that are provided by the different organizations near us. There's a lot of, I work for the government, and there's a lot of different programs that are being executed in St. Mary's and Calvert County as part of the Patuxent Partnership that I would love to see expanded to Charles County. And that's another action that if I'm on this board or not, I'm going to work with the people that I know who work within that Patuxent Partnership to see what we can do about expanding that up here, because as I'm sure you're all aware, one of the biggest employers in our community is the government and the Navy and the Air Force. And so no reason why we shouldn't be getting some of those experiences that St. Mary's children have access to up here as well. And then my third priority is going to be working to improve the working conditions of everyone directly or indirectly employed by the Board of Ed and the Charles County Public Schools. In general, I'm sure you all know, teacher retention has been difficult. There's always competing interests with people who have CDLs, because there's Amazon right down the road that's hiring CDLs, and there's a lot of room for improvement. And I think the people that want to be here and are here still, we need to invest in the people who are investing in us and do what we can to make their lives as easy and the way I would advocate that, or how I feel I fit into that role, is we, on the Board of Ed, it handles educational and financial policy, and so that's really where that can happen. And then other than that, it's just trying to be supportive and make sure they feel heard.
Good morning. Do you feel your views on public education align with members of District 1?
So when you say members of District 1, I think I'm assuming you mean community members. And by and large, I've lived all over the county in my 23 years here. I lived in Rock Road, I lived in Indian Head, Nanjamoy, La Plata for a while, Waldorf for a long time. That's where me and my partner Melissa bought our first house, and now I live in Hughesville. I've been there since probably 2019, and being a member of all those different communities within Charles County, I think by and large, there's more similarities between those communities than there are differences. And especially when it comes to public education, at the end of the day, most of us want a system that works for our students and provides them with the skills they need to face the challenges of this world. And I think it doesn't really get much more simpler than that. You know, if you believe in public school systems, that's what you want. You want students coming out ready to there's a lot of challenges going on right now, and they got to be ready for them.
What is your understanding of the blueprint for Maryland? Do you support its implementation? Which pillar do you believe is the most important and why?
Sure. So this is one that we could probably talk for a long time about, right? The blueprint is the major thing happening in our public school system right now in Maryland. My understanding of it is that it's a multi-billion-dollar program that is meant to funnel more state money into the schools to improve outcomes for all of our students. I support its implementation. I worked for the government. I've worked for the government my entire professional career, and I've always said if we spent half the money that we spent on our military investing in our people, we'd be unstoppable as a country. And I firmly believe that. And this provides a great opportunity to do that. The pillar that I most believe in, or the one that I want to advocate for the most, is or I think is most important, is the college and career readiness. The reason why I think that needs to be our top priority, our top focus, is that's the closest gator to the boat, right? There's probably a million problems that exist within our system right now, and we kind of have to rack and stack them in a way that's going to give us the most benefit for the time and money that we're investing in it. And so while we have students that are about to graduate now, looking at the state of our schools and the test scores that Dr. Navarro has provided us, we got students that are going to be graduating the next year or so that are not on their reading level and maybe not prepared to face the challenges that they're going to have to deal with in the next, what do we have left, 6 months, 8 months? So that to me is the top priority, is getting that established, getting that college career readiness lying flat, so that the people who are coming through our system and have the least amount of time to make up that gap, we're focusing on that to get them ready. There was a third part to your question, right? So it was which one do I think is priority?
I can repeat it. No problem. What is your understanding of the blueprint for Maryland? Do you support its implementation? Which pillar do you believe is most important and why?
Oh, okay. So I think I hit it. I mean, that's it in a nutshell, right? We need to invest in our people. We need to invest in our students because we want a community that is successful people who know how to think critically about problems. And CCR is, in my opinion, most important because it's the one that we're going to be needing to deal with quickly for the people who are about to be leaving our system.
Welcome again. Your next question. What are the roles of the elected board and the role of the superintendent?
Yeah, so I'm going to go ahead and give a shout out to my 9th grade LSN teacher, Miss Umbarger. She taught me a lot about how our government works, and the best analogy I can give is that we are the legislative branch to the superintendent's executive branch. Our job is to write policy for education and finance and appoint the superintendent, and her job is to deal with everything else and making sure it all works. And then when the time comes and it's time to reevaluate the superintendent, we do that, and we'll hold interviews and all of that. That's pretty much it.
Hello.
Hi.
How have your unique strength, professional, and volunteering experience prepared you to serve on the CCPS board?
Sure. So working in the government for, 15, 16 years now. It's taught me a lot about how government funding works and how the allocations need to be tracked and everything like that. The oversight that goes into it. And I think a lot of what we deal with on the board will fall into those categories. I know there's different parts of the Board of Education that more directly deal with that, but in terms of writing the policy and determining how that stuff gets allocated, that comes from here. So just having that top level understanding of how money works, I think, is going to be a big deal. And then how we're always talking about SOPs and SOGs in my line of work and standard work packages. And, you know, I'm an engineer. Everything has a standard, right? And so writing policy is a lot like writing standards or even putting in requirements for how we want somebody to design something, right? You have to take into account maybe the unintended consequences of how you write a policy, and you know, understanding the difference between should and shall when writing a particular policy makes a big difference. And then the other thing is that helps me with is or my experience with the Navy and with the Marine Corps, and even with the fire department. The Marine Corps unit that I worked with was a emergency response unit. Basically, they were there in case a high-yield explosive event or a chem-bio event happened anywhere in the United States. We would travel there and deal with it. And in 2011, when the tsunami hit Japan and the Fukushima reactors were about to go, you know, we deployed, and I deployed with the Marines, and we were there to in case the reactors went. And so, you know, it really, those experiences and my experience with the fire department just really, and even as an engineer, when we're trying to solve problems, have really taught me the skills to assess a situation, come up with a way to solve it, mitigate risks along the way, and all the while things are crashing down around you and the situation is continuing to evolve. And it's being responsive in a methodical way is what those skills have taught me, and I think that'll be valuable to this board. My time as a student with CCPS and as a parent of CCPS students now, I think really have taught me a lot about what it's like to be a person engaging with the system that you have little to no control over. And in my experience, it's like this with a lot of things. You get out of it what you put in, right? So I want to put into this, and hopefully everybody will get something good out of it. And then my continued work with the community and my volunteer work that you've seen listed keeps me grounded in what you know, our constituents and the people we're here to serve are thinking about things. And I know being out in the public like I am, I'm going to hear a lot of, "Hey, why is this going on? Hey, my kid's school's like this. What are you doing about it?" You know, and I think that'll keep me grounded with what the community thinks about this, our actions that we're taking. So. That's it's hard for people to come up here and you don't want to brag and you want to explain everything that you're doing to get this job, right? I really do think I have good skills to be in this position and do this job. I have a lot of unique experiences. I've gone from blue collar worker to white collar worker. And I think just education is what has made me successful even when I was struggling, right? The experiences of working 4 or 5 jobs at one time and then, you know, starting a family while I'm in school, it really has shaped me in a way all along the way. Like I've named them already, all the teachers that I've had along the way that helped give me guidance to figure all of this out. This life came from Charles County Public Schools. It's like, at least that's where it started, right? Then I went to University of Maryland and College of Southern Maryland. So, you know, even though I moved here when I was a young man, 13 years old, I'm Maryland through and through. And so I really want to give back.
Okay, thank you very much. That's the end of the questions. Um, there's time remaining, so if there's anything else you'd like to say, the floor is yours.
Sure. One thing I want to jump back to was on the blueprint. I had it written down here as a note about specifically the college and career readiness is while I work as an engineer and obviously I'm into science, technology, engineering, and math type focused programs. I think one of the things that I would want to provide additional input or influence on over the execution of that is not losing sight of what we would consider to be the other things, right? And so one thing that I've always been a believer in is STEAM, science, technology, engineering, arts, and math versus just STEM. And it's difficult because I think a lot of people don't see those as relevant skills. But I think that's what's empowered me along the way to be an advocate for myself. The time I spend performing in bands or on stage as an actor or, being an artist and taking that stuff, taking a piece of yourself and putting it in front of the world is scary 100% of the time. Every time you step out on the boards or you try to build something or you go to perform a piece of music in front of people, you start out scared. But when you come on the other side of it and people are responsive, good or bad, a response is something, it empowers you because you look at it and you're like, hey, that wasn't so bad. I got through it. The world didn't fall apart. And a lot of those skills I would call them how to be people skills, don't come from a math teacher or a science teacher. They're usually coming from your English teachers, your art teachers, your drama teachers, band teachers. And part of career readiness, I know, prime example is when I got done with college and I took my job with the Navy, the first 2 years of that, they had us in how to be a people class, right? It was soft skills. It was working with others, leading others, emotional intelligence, things like that. And, for me, I felt like I got a lot of those skills because I've been a multifaceted person and I engaged in a lot of different types of activities. But a lot of my peers, they needed that stuff and they probably need more of it. So if I could get more engineers coming through that have some of those soft skills already, that would be incredible. So that's one thing that I think I would want to focus on and make sure is included in our college and career readiness is not losing sight of those soft skills that are going to be hugely important. Because I think when we focus on things that and programs that directly correlate to a career, we maybe miss some of that other stuff that they need to be a good functioning person in society. Yeah. Anything else I would want to say? How much time do I have left? I can talk forever.
You got like 17 minutes.
17 minutes? Okay. Oh, geez, I answered those questions a little too quickly, didn't I? Listen, I was maybe a little bit naive when I ran my campaign for this position because I wanted to try and get through the primaries before I invested a lot of money in trying to get this job, and that was probably a mistake. And one of the main reasons for that is because I just didn't have a lot of money. And interestingly enough, part of the reason I ran is because when the deadlines were coming up to have people sign up about whether or not they wanted to run, there wasn't very many names on the list, if any at all. And what I was actually trying to avoid was the people who did get elected appointing someone. That was part of the reason I ran. I thought, the community should have a voice. They should have a say. And so that's why I threw my hat in the ring. I thought it'd be a good way to volunteer for the community, and I thought I had some good ideas and try to make things better. So it's ironic that I'm sitting here on a board trying to get appointed now after running my campaign. But maybe I know better for next time. One thing, that I think all of you know is that I still want this job, right? I continued to come to these meetings and be engaged and took the opportunities when I could to speak at these engagements. And volunteering. My wife is on her way to go volunteer at my kid's book fair, and I'll probably join her after this. I'm going to continue to be part of this, and because I think it's important. And I said at the beginning, this is a position of public service and public trust. And I really do believe that. And, it shouldn't be taken lightly. There was a lot of people who ran and are being interviewed today that I haven't seen around much. And there's people who had the job before, and I understand why they might want to step back in to try to help out. But there was a reason they didn't put their name in back in January, 2 years ago when the campaign started. So, for whatever that's worth, like I really do want to be here. And I would hope that my financial situation shouldn't be a hindrance for that, because I couldn't afford enough billboards and buttons and stuff to pass out. But in any case, that's me, and that was my mistakes. But yeah, the other, I've kind of alluded to it a bunch, but I'm really data driven as an engineer, and I know there's a lot of studies and surveys and things like that going on. But I think at the end of the day, the problems that Charles County is facing aren't unique. You can see them everywhere across the country, and one of the approaches that I would have to try and solve any particular problem is to go out and research and look at what it is other communities are doing about X, Y, or Z, and see if their model fits to Charles County, and see if those things can work. And just that's the kind of methodical problem solving that I'm geared towards, and what I'd like to do for this board. You guys got a long day of interviews ahead of you, and I hope that I've made a good impact. So I'll stop rambling.
Well, again, we thank you for coming in, sir, and enjoy the rest of your day.
Yeah, you do the same.
Thanks.